The 3 common faults I see in putting, and today I'm going to give you some tips to make you a much better putter. Hey everyone, this is Barnhill with the Barnhill Golf Institute. Today I'm excited to bring you a great video on how to improve your putting. We're going to go over the 3 common areas that I see people make mistakes on in putting, and I'm going to give you remedies and fixes of how to make you a better putter. Because putting is about 40% of your score, so I tell you what, if you want to drop some scores real quickly, pay attention to what I'm about to say, and hopefully it will help your game. All right, so number 1 problem I see is alignment. And what I mean by alignment is eye alignment, body alignment, club face alignment. We're going to put that all in one category as a big problem, and that's your address. So before we can even make a proper stroke, we have to have the proper setup, just like in the golf swing. So putting's no different, and I'm going to show you what we see, and I'm going to give you some ideas of how to fix that. Number 2 is flipping. And what I mean by that is people make strokes and they flip the wrist at it. It's just not very repetitive, and also known as the bad word here, yips. It can turn into that. So I hate to say that word, but I tell you what, it's out there. It's real. So we're going to discuss how we could get rid of that. And then number 3 is putting path. What is the path of how should you go back and how should you go through? And we're going to discuss that. All right, let's start off with number 1, alignment. So tell you what, I have been using this. This doesn't cost that much. I'm telling you what, it is just so easy to get lined up like this. So if you're by yourself, I'm going to show you how to use this, but it's brilliant. You can put tees down in the ground. It's got a red line here for your club face to make sure it's straight, which is what we're talking about for club face alignment. And then it's got a shoulder alignment that we can actually look down because it's just a mirror, so we can see if our shoulders are square to our feet. I'm going to go over that as well. And then the eye alignment. So put this down here. I put a ball here. I get my putter. First of all, I can see my club face is right there. Okay, so I'll show you this way. So right there you can see, let me get it square to the target here. So that right there is right on the red line. If that was open, I could see that space in between the red line. So that's important. So we need to know how to align the club face and line the ball up to where our target is. But that club face, a lot of people have a hard time seeing what is square with the club face because of offset. There's all kind of different visual problems that we have putting. So first is that. Next is the eye alignment. So we get set up here. And I'll just drop a ball down. Hopefully I'll hit the ball here. But our eyes need to be over the ball. So there we go. All right. So eyes over the ball. Now I want to check out my shoulder alignment. So with this deal here, I can see with my feet, and that's why I got the rods here. I can put the rod down here to be parallel to where I'm lining up. Just like so, and then I can put, right here, that's not, I can see that's open, that would be closed, and this would be right on the red line right here. So there we go. So now I can get set up here, I can see it, everything's lined up. Now I know I'm square, eyes are over the ball, feet are lined up parallel, and now we got the club face lined up too. So that's just before we get even into the putting stroke, we need to make sure we can see these things. You can do this in your house or out in the backyard like I'm here in my hitting area. So that's first thing is alignment. Get those correct. Within the eyes being over the ball, you can have your eyes, there's a lot of good putters like Nicholas. You know, you want to be over the ball, but you can be a little bit behind it, especially if you're right eye dominant. So if you don't have to be right on top of it with your right eye, but if you're right eye dominant, your right eye could be back here behind the ball. That way when you look down the line, you can see a lot better. Trevino talks about that, Nicholas. It's easier to see the path and where your alignment, and it's a great visual for you, especially if you're right eye dominant. All right, second thing is flipping, okay? Now I'm gonna generalize this, but it's when your dominant hand, so if you're right-handed and you putt, and that just takes over. So some things you could do is experiment. That's the first thing I would say is experiment. If you got a traditional grip, I tell you what, anything goes in putting. All right, so there's not one way to do it. You can look on tour, you can look at great players. They all have different strokes. One of the more common ones, grips in the last few years has been the claw grip. There's variations of that, but basically, like you can see with it, I can put my finger down the shaft. I can go like this. This is the flat cat here grip to help with like a claw grip, and I would just put it on here like this, and what that does, it keeps the wrist out of the stroke. So I could go like this. Okay, so going like this, if you're wristy, you probably want to change your position of your hand on there, or you could try a reverse grip here. Okay, and then you can also put the grip into your forearm there, like you see some of them do, and then try to work on just keeping it in that forearm. Tell you what, try anything. You know, when it gets to being flippy. I remember back in 1999, I almost quit playing the game. I got the yips, and it was beyond frustrating. I would practice before tournaments several hours a day, 3-footers, 4-footers. I got out there and I just could not stop flipping it. So I'm right-handed. I play right-handed, but I was like, all right. There was somebody out there I was teaching, and they were left-handed. And I tried it left-handed, and it was just amazing the difference. So I experimented, and I was like, all right. 2 months later, I qualified for Club Pro Championship regionals. I made it in the playoff putting left-handed 2 months after I started. And I mean, it was unbelievable how much better my right hand for me going left-handed, because I'm right-handed, but my lead hand was staying strong. So you don't want to break down. I'm not saying you have to go to that extreme, but I tell you what, there's more than one way to do this. And that's what I'm saying. If you're flipping, experiment with different grips, and you got nothing to lose. All right, the third thing, club path, okay? We need to be pretty straight back, straight through. I think everybody could agree with that. We don't want to be, that's why the shoulder alignment, all that's important. Feet alignment, I mean, there's some people that open their stance, but you know, the path needs to be somewhat straight back and straight through, okay? Now, there are square to square putters, kind of like Steve Stricker. He's pretty straight back, straight through, but what I mean by square to square, when he goes back, he keeps that toe very square. He doesn't open and release the putter. So there's a couple ways, but within that, we want to be pretty straight back, straight through. So I love practicing this, and I tell you what, the feedback I've been getting from my students, a lot of junior players, this is also by Eyeline. This is the Edge putting rail, and if you can see this is really neat. So you put the ball right here, okay, and I'm gonna do a stroke here. I'm gonna move this. So line it up on the eye here. Okay, and these little teeth marks, that's how the club face should look at these points of the stroke. So when I go back, if I was like that, that would be closed. That should be in line with that tooth mark like that at that point. So if I went further back, that club face would open up just a little bit like that. Okay, and then when you hit, it would release like a door. And then if you came through it all the way to here, then it would be lined up with that tooth mark. And that's, you know, that a lot of people putt that way. But if you're square to square, you'd be more, the toe would stay the same. Both work, just you have to figure out what style. But within that, I tell you, it's just being straight back, straight through helps a lot of people. So you could use rods at home. You don't have to have something like that. I mean, I did this growing up in my house. I had 2x4s. We can use these rods here and just give yourself a little bit of room. And what I like about the alignment aid here, I can see I can put it right here in the middle, and I can work on going the same distance back and through, straight back, straight through, same distance. Okay, and you can see if you went outside, oh boy, I was way outside, or if you went way inside, we want to stay within the rods here and keep it straight back, straight through. So, you know, that's the path. I'm just generalizing it here, giving you an idea. It's tips you can do in your house and work on your stroke and grooving it. You know, I didn't mention that, but once you get all that, then I tell you what, and you feel pretty good about your stroke, then the next level of really, really getting your stroke really good is rhythm. And I used to practice it with a metronome. And, you know, you find your beats per second. I think it was 76 beats per second. So you find out that you want to be beep, 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 and you get a cadence. But generally speaking, people are good players go about 10 to 15% more through it than what they take it back. So a little bit more on the follow through. And then they also have a smooth acceleration through it, a little bit faster tempo coming through it. It's not jabby, it almost looks equal, but it's slightly more accelerated. That's a common fault we see too, I didn't mention, but deceleration through impact, and that usually happens with people that flip it. But 1, 2, 1, 2. And you know, I'll make another video with just using the metronome. I think that would be of value to show you how to set that up and how to work on the cadence of putting. Because I tell you what, you get out there and mean something, it's a routine, then you go out, you got the beats or you can count in your head and you're thinking about that, not the result of making the putt. You're going through a routine that puts you in a good, positive mindset to make a positive stroke. All right, I hope that helps you out. These are some just common faults that I see as a PGA teaching professional. If you have any questions, please comment below. Give me some feedback. I'd be glad to answer and help you out. And I tell you what, this is something you have to work on. Putting is not just one way of doing it. You have to experiment, but hopefully what I showed you today will give you an idea and the game plan. So for more great videos, blogs, and vlogs, please watch barnhillgolf.com.